Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale, and on this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to share with you my recipe for chicken tetrazzini. It's easy and simple. It's a really indulgent kind of recipe, and I wanted to share it with you because I thought maybe this would be a great entree for your Easter table. Something a little bit different, but definitely something that feels like a treat because, like I mentioned, it is quite an indulging dish, but perfect for a special occasion like a holiday such as Easter. The ingredients for what you'll need for the recipe are some cremini mushrooms that I've sliced. I also have some chopped up onions down here, some rotisserie chicken that I just shredded, some really good quality white cheddar that I grated, lots of garlic, Italian seasoning, Parmigiano, chicken stock, a mixture of heavy cream and whole milk. I also have some cream cheese back here, a little bit of wine, salt and pepper, unsalted butter, some all-purpose flour, frozen peas. I've got some seasoned panko breadcrumbs, any breadcrumbs will do, and a little bit more Parmigiano. You can make the recipe using either spaghetti or linguine. I'm using linguine, which I have sitting in the bag here waiting, and you're also going to need just a little bit more butter. So you'll see it is quite a rich dish, but honey, when it's worth it, you do it. And this is definitely worth it. I am going to do this in my Dutch oven because it's a nice big pot. I also have a big pot back there with some salted boiling water coming up to a boil. That's going to be to cook the linguine in. The first thing I want to do, let's get my butter in here, and I want to melt the butter. I want this to be completely melted. I'm impatient, so that's good enough. I'm going to add my mushrooms and my onions. I want to cook these for about 7 to 8 minutes. I want these to develop really good color, and I have this over medium-high heat. I'm not going to salt this just yet because if I were to salt this right now, I would draw out all the moisture from the mushrooms, and they would get quite soggy and liquidy. What I want is for these to develop some color. So I'm just going to just keep sauteing and stirring for about 7 to 8 minutes. I'll show you what it looks like when it's there. Okay, these look amazing. I'm going to hit them with a little bit of salt. And now I'm going to deglaze the pan because you see there's a lot of goodness stuck in the bottom of the pan with a little bit of white wine. If you don't want to use wine, don't. Just use a little more chicken stock. That's all. You can see I'm scraping the sides of the pan, and that's just releasing all those beautiful, it's all that flavor that's stuck in the bottom of the pan. It's all being released, which is perfect. I wanted this to just bubble for a couple of minutes, not even, really about a minute or so. I'm going to add my garlic now, although I should have added it before the wine, but it's okay. All ends up in the same place anyway. Let that cook for about 30 seconds so it gets rid of any of that raw garlic flavor. Adding flour, and this is going to immediately kind of start to thicken everything up. And this is going to be the thickener that keeps the sauce a really beautiful consistency. Just give it a stir for about 30 seconds. You want to make sure that you no longer see any bits of raw flour. That's kind of when you know that you've incorporated it well. That looks about right. I'm now going to add in my remaining liquid. So I've got my chicken stock. Okie doke. And then I've got my mixture of whole milk and heavy cream. Now this is going to come to a boil. I'm also going to add my Italian seasoning. I'm going to sneak it in there. This is going to come to a boil. I'm going to reduce it down to a medium heat and let it reduce, I would say, for about 7 to 8 minutes or until it's thickened really nicely. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook, which I'll bring over, I'm going to cook my linguine. What I'm going to do, and this is something you'll hardly ever see me do, especially if it's just in a sauce, I'm going to cut the linguine in half because it makes it so that it makes eating and serving a lot easier. So I'm just going to cut them whole thing, the whole bunch in half like so. Add them to my salted boiling water, cook them for about 7 minutes. I want them about 2 minutes shy of being completely cooked. Rinse them under cold water to stop them from cooking any further and drain them really well. And then I'll meet you back here with a cooked linguine, the thickened sauce, and then we'll pretty much pull the whole thing off together and get it into the oven. Okay, this thickened up absolutely perfectly. I am going to hit it with a little bit of more salt and pepper. I did give this a taste for seasoning. I did think it needed a little bit more salt, but keep in mind that you should always taste it because it totally depends on how salty your chicken stock is and everything else. So it's making my mouth water. I also have my oven preheated to 375. At this point, what I'm going to do is I am going to just add Sorry. I just want to be in the zone. I just want to be alone with this pot of like saucy, delicious, mushroomy goodness. That's what's happening. Actually, first what I'll do is I'll add my cream cheese. It's been softened at room temperature, which just makes it kind of mix in better. And this is just going to add another element of just richness, and it's just absolutely amazing. You don't even have to bother making sure it's all completely mixed in, because it's going to all melt once we add everything else, which is our cooked chicken. This goes together so fast. The peas that are somewhat defrosted at this point. Give that all a mix. About a cup or so of Parmigiano. And then you've got your really good white cheddar. And all I'm going to do is just mix this until everything is nicely mixed together, and then we'll add the pasta. Just once everything has a chance to kind of get coated in the sauce. I have my pasta right over here. This is almost there. Look how thick and gorgeous that is. I know. And I cooked my pasta for 7 minutes instead of 9 so that it would just stay really lovely and perfectly cooked once it's had a chance to cook in the oven. Okay, I'm just going to mix this carefully, making sure every strand is perfectly coated. I'm going to take, oh, it's hard, it's heavy. I've got a greased casserole dish, nice big one to fit everything in. Whatever's left behind, I will snack on. Thank you very much. You want to make sure your casserole dish is nice and big. And that's why I wanted to share this with you now, because it would be perfect for a holiday get-together. It makes enough to feed a small army. It makes a lot. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just mixing together my breadcrumbs and my Parmigiano. And I'm going to coat the top of this with this mixture. And like I said, you don't have to use seasoned panko. You can use any breadcrumbs you like. You can even use fresh breadcrumbs if you have that. I'm just using these because I happen to have them on hand pretty much at all times, because I really like the texture of panko breadcrumbs. Got that, and then, because it can't get rich enough, I'm going to add a few dabs of butter on top, just a couple tablespoons in total, just to get that top lovely golden brown. And I'm going to pop this into the oven and let it bake for about a half an hour, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. This was in the oven for about 25 minutes and it looks perfect. I have let it cool for about 5 minutes. I mean, it's looking so good. I can't even. And it's just so crunchy on top. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at the sauce. Look at. I gotta get just a little bit more of that. Than that, I should say. Probably should have had tongs to help me out, but you know what? I like to live on the edge. What can I say? Okay. I am just so in love with the smell. All the herbs from the Italian seasoning and the mushrooms and the wine. I can smell them all. Let's give this a bite. It is kind of good. It just makes you literally want to freak out for no apparent reason. That is where it's at. It is so creamy. It's so rich. It's so velvety. I absolutely have nothing else to say. That crunch on top is just the cherry on the sundae. It is to die for. Go to laurainthekitchen.com, get the written recipe, make it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do, and I hope you enjoy spending time with me. And I will see you next time. Bye!